G'day, my name's Geoff Greig. I'm producing this video to show you the least expensive way to use the internet. I'm doing this I originally created this website, explains it, but some people have trouble reading and interpreting what they read. So what I'm going to do is talk it through. So I'll read out quite a bit that's on the website. Okay, least expensive way to use the internet. The first least expensive way to use it is to use a friend's or free one. In other words, using their device. Give you some sort of an indication of how this works. There's an old movie called Alice's Restaurant. And this is what happened during the movie, one part.
How you doing? Well, just what I've always wanted.
A restaurant?
No, a friend with a restaurant.
Okay, so that's it. What you want is not an internet connection. You need a friend with an internet connection. Okay, as it says here. So maybe you don't need the internet, but a friend with the internet. This is one of the most least expensive ways of using the internet. You just use a friend's internet. It would be a friend's computer, mobile phone, or tablet, which are the three main devices you can use to connect to the internet. But unless the friend lends you a phone, a tablet, you have to use the internet at their location. Now, later on, we can see, even if you have your own device, a friend may allow you to share their internet connection, but we'll look at that a little bit later on. But what if you don't have any friends that are willing to let you use their internet? Well, the next situation is libraries. All right, we look at the thing there. There's a situation where you've got libraries. Okay, so I'll read. Most libraries provide free internet. They usually have computers that allow you to connect to the internet. That means you have to be physically go to the library. Other than libraries, there are also some community organisations that have computers, so allowing you to use them for free to access the internet. Though it is not very common, sometimes businesses will provide computers for free on the internet. But it's usually associated with some sort of service. For example, in the foyer of motels, but you have to be a customer of the motel to be able to use it. Okay. All right. So that's using. So the next situation is using your own device. Now, if you use your own device to connect to the internet, it will be either a computer, a tablet, or a mobile phone. Other than the various sizes, models, performance, whether second-hand or new, etc., the cheapest of these devices is a mobile phone, possibly followed by a tablet, then a computer. Again, the least expensive one to use these devices is to have one to give it to you for free. Now, often relatives or friends may have upgraded their technology and give their older technology to you. If you ask a relative or friend, they may have an old device sitting around in a cupboard or a drawer at home, and they may have forgotten about it, but they're willing to give it to you. For example, most people have old mobile phones nowadays that are sitting around in some sort of a cupboard or something like that, and they don't even realize they've got it, and they don't even realize that you need it. Okay? Okay, so that's that. All right, so let's look at the next thing. Second-hand. So the bulkiest items to buy second-hand would be a computer. Because of the advent of tablets and mobile phones, there are a lot of old desktop computers hanging around. A lot of good older working computers are often thrown down the tip. And there are some organisations around that rebuild and refresh older desktop computers. An example of one of those in Brisbane is an organisation called Station 33. That's them there, and what they do is they take old computers, old junk that people throw out, and they recycle them. And sometimes they really rebuild those old computers. Okay, so that's just one example of buying secondhand. Okay, the tower-only part of refurbished desktop computers usually range in price from $45 up to $400, obviously depending on the quality of set that you buy and how old it may be. You'll also need a screen. That's the visible thing you look at, a keyboard, a mouse, and possibly microphones and speakers. Now, the disadvantage of desktop computers is that you need more than it to be able to connect to the internet. You also need another device, such as a router or a Wi-Fi connection. Now, that's the bulkiest device, but the next bulkiest device, second-hand device to buy, is a laptop computer. Now, anything from about $200 upwards, laptops have the advantage of being portable and usually have built-in Wi-Fi. So they can connect to a Wi-Fi connection to be able to get onto the internet without having to buy additional devices. There are also some second-hand tablets and phones. From $19 upwards can be found on the internet, or $45 at places like Cash Converters. Again, depending on the make, model, performance, and specifications. Okay, but just a couple of things to watch out for when you're buying things secondhand. Because of the fast-changing technology, you can sometimes purchase for less money a brand new mobile phone or tablet which has better performance than a second-hand one, which is a few years old. When you factor in that the second-hand device has no or very limited warranty compared to the new one, that would come with at least a 12-month warranty, the price difference needs to be reasonably substantial. A mobile phone that a year or two ago may have cost $1,200 is being sold secondhand for $100 may sound like a great deal, or good or a great deal, but it may not be as good a deal as a brand new $90 phone today. And that's simply because the technology is changing quite quickly. If you're going to buy a device to be able to connect to the internet secondhand, then you should test that it does connect to the internet before paying for it. So definitely check it. So if they're not willing to show that it does connect to the internet, don't buy it. If you're considering purchasing a more expensive secondhand device, make sure you know how to use it before you buy it. It could be a false economy to buy something only to find that when you have learnt how to use all its functionality, some of which you may never use, it would have been more economical to buy something less expensive, learn how to use it, and then if you find you need more functionality or performance, something faster or better, later buy a more expensive second-hand device. Now, when using the internet, it is the software, such as the internet browser or email client, that provides the functionality. That is the software on the devices, not the physical device itself. As generally the software can operate on any device, having a more expensive device is not going to provide you any more functionality. Sometimes more expensive devices can operate faster. However, when viewing the internet, as most of the time is spent looking or reading, having a faster device may not have any great benefit. So all other things being equal, the speed at which web pages are displayed on a device is mostly controlled by the speed of the internet connection, which has rather than the physical device itself. So buying a really fast device might be great, but if you've got a slow internet connection, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. Okay, so that's secondhand. All right. Right, at Cash Converters, the least expensive one I could find was $15.20 for a small, low-powered Android device. Okay, mightn't last too long, but anyway, that's the least expensive. For iPhones, now iPhones are an Apple phone, and Android phones are non-Apple phones, basically. For Android, the iPhone ones tend to be more expensive. The least expensive one I was about $45 for quite a few generations old. So there'd be a really old iPhone, about $45. Okay, the least expensive new smartphones. Okay, I'm looking around. I found this one on special at Big W for $29. Okay, $29. It's a smartphone, which means it doesn't have a keyboard or screen. It can connect to the internet, and it's $29. And there's a link there where you find it. Okay. But I also found this on eBay, quite a good model with fingerprint recognition and what's called a quad-core processor. It means it's quite fast, right? And it was, let's have a scroll down and have a look at the price, $93.10 on eBay, right? Or at the time of writing, when I wrote this article, Target had those in stores as a prepaid model, probably maybe connected to one particular bride for $89. So it's a good, reasonably powerful Android brand new phone for $89 prepaid. So if you later on, I'll put the link to this video, all right, at the end of this, so you can go to this web page, so you can go and find out all these links. Okay, so you've got a device, either a desktop computer, a laptop computer, a tablet, or a phone. The next thing you need is an internet connection, right? The internet connection. So just owning the device is not sufficient to be able to connect to the internet. You still need to have, say, some way of making an internet connection. That is, you've got a device. It's a little like having a phone, an old phone. You've got to connect it to the phone line to be able to use it. So typically this is done either via physical cable or via some wireless system, whether that be Wi-Fi, what's called Wi-Fi, which is wireless, Bluetooth, which is another form of wireless, or mobile internet, which is basically another form of wireless. Again, 3 wireless ways of connecting. Generally, mobile phones, tablets, and laptop computers do not connect physically to the internet via a cable. You can sometimes connect the laptop to a cable, but generally they don't. They mainly use what's called Wi-Fi or mobile wireless connection, whereas desktop computers do have a cable going from them, usually to what's called a modem router, which is a little box which then has a cable going to the phone line or to the NBN, which connects to the internet. Hence, desktop computers can only be used to connect to the internet when they are next to a router modem. Okay, so that's the ways of connecting with the various physical devices. Okay, next thing, a free internet connection. So we talked about using at the beginning, you don't need a restaurant, you need a friend with a restaurant, you don't need Wi-Fi, you need a friend with Wi-Fi. In the case of when you've got your own device, you don't necessarily need to have an internet connection, you just need to have a friend that has an internet connection. So, as explained briefly earlier, if you have a neighbor or friend that has an internet service, you can connect your laptop, tablet, or mobile phone to their service via Wi-Fi if they allow you to do so. This is usually done via Wi-Fi connection and may or may not require a password. As Wi-Fi signals only travel a relatively short distance, you may have to be physically at your friends' or neighbours' premises to be able to use it. However, I've heard of situations where a Wi-Fi signal extends enough so that neighbours can connect. In other words, if they've got theirs on one side of their house, your connection's on the same side as theirs is, you may be able to connect up. Now, so that's all free. So you could be at home with a very, very nice neighbour who allows you to connect to their internet, and they may allow you to connect because they have unlimited internet. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Okay, many shopping centres, businesses, banks, educational institutions, libraries, and restaurants often provide free Wi-Fi to their clients. Also, I've found some local councils can do it. I've seen it out in the middle of the bush in what's called free camping spots, and found that there's free Wi-Fi out in the middle of the bush. Is often called a Wi-Fi hotspot and can be identified by looking at your Wi-Fi settings on your device. In other words, you look at it and it comes up and says, there's a Wi-Fi connection here. Other than having to be physically at or close to these institutions, other limitations can be there is a data limit. For example, if you go to a shopping centre, they have a data limit or a time limit that you can use it, and sometimes the speed at which you can connect can be quite slow. For example, if you go to McDonald's, they quite often have free Wi-Fi, but it'll often be a lot slower than using a paid-for Wi-Fi thing. Okay, so that's using your own device with a free internet connection. Okay, next thing is paying for an internet connection, right? You pay for it. How do you go about that? Okay. Now, although now getting a bit old, I've got some material I wrote some time ago on choosing an internet plan. All right, so if you want to look at that, I wrote it in 2005, but some of the information is still viable. So it's well worthwhile looking at the different technologies involved, etc. If you want to do that, have a look at where I've put the link from this website, and you can go and click on where it says choosing an internet connection there. There are many ways of paying for an internet connection, and some are less expensive than others. Generally, the more cabled you are in terms of the internet, the less you pay per unit of data you pay for. The more you use, you use. So, in other words, if the more data you use, and if it's a wired connection, you'll pay less than a non-wired connection. Okay. Generally, mobile data in a mobile phone plan is more expensive than cable data. So if you want to buy data on a mobile phone plan, you'll pay more than what you can if it's on something that's cabled into a household. You can purchase data on paid-for Wi-Fi hotspots. So that means, as we talked about before, where you can be out somewhere and there'd be a mobile hotspot, you can actually pay for that sort of data as well, rather than the free ones. I'm not aware of any internet service where you pay a one-time fee and get data forever. In other words, you've got to pay more as you're going along. Most paid-for internet is provided on a monthly basis for a certain amount of data, and at the end of the month, you have to pay for another month to get more data. I'm also not aware of any internet where you only pay for what you use. You need to make a decision of how much data you need to buy and either use it up in the required time or end up buying more. Now, generally, when you purchase internet data, the more you purchase, the least it will cost per unit of data. Those selling internet want you to spend as much as possible. For example, an internet provider I looked up for mobile charges $20 for 4 gigabyte, $30 for 10 gigabyte, so it's better to buy 10 per unit of data there, $35 for 20 gigabyte, and $20 for $40 for 20 gigabyte. So the price per gigabyte works out less the more you pay. So $40 for 20 gigabyte is about, 50 cents a gigabyte, whereas $20 for 4 gigabyte, you're paying, $10 a gigabyte. Okay. All right. You may also want to find out what data actually is and data versus data capacity. There's some other links I've got there. Once again, if you're looking at this, you go to underneath where this video is, I'll have a link to this website and you can go down and read this, click on here and read these links. Now, provided you use all the data, you're getting a better price for the more expensive option. For example, in this one up here where you pay $40 for 20 gigabyte, you use up the whole 20 gigabyte, you're getting a better option. However, if you don't use all the data in the required time, usually a month, you can end up paying more per gigabyte. For example, if you take out a $20 plan, right, the $20 plan, the $40 plan, and you only use 1 gigabyte of it, you only use 1 gigabyte, it's cost you $40 for 1 gigabyte. Okay. If you want to only actually use 1 gigabyte, you are only actually paying $20, $35, $40 respectively. It is more important to know how much data you expect to use and how much you actually use. Okay, so, and how do you know this? If you've never used the data before, you have to sort of guess. So sometimes it's better off to buy a less amount of data and pay more per gigabyte and then see how you use it and then see how you go later on. Now, if you monitor how much data you've used, how much you have left, you can save save information to your device for later viewing or reading, so fully utilizing the data you purchase. It is not necessary to be on the internet to be able to see and read material that's on the internet. So you can see this next section, what we're going to talk about here. All right. So saving data for later reading and transmitting. Okay, let's explain what this is all about. Okay, go down a little bit more. When you use the internet for information that you see on your device, when you use the information that you see on your device as actually being copied from one computing device on the internet to your device. This is something called caching. At some point, this cache data is automatically moved to make space for more information. However, you can tell your device to make a saved, more permanent copy of the information. On web browsers, this is usually a save web page complete function. That's save web page complete function. Or you can just highlight any text, right click or do a long press and then select copy. Then go to some other application and paste the information and save it. Graphic information can also be right clicked on and saved. Even playing videos and audios can be saved with the appropriate software or functionality. This saves information that can later be read and watched, usually the same application used to save it. Saving internet information gives you greater flexibility when you have a limited amount of data or when using any of the free ways of getting internet described above. So what this is all about is it means if you've got a limited amount of data, you can actually call up the data, save it to your device in some way, and then later on view or read the data. Likewise, when you create data to put on the internet, you may have to be connected to the internet to create. You do not have to be connected to the internet to create the data. No matter what the data is, you can use an application to create and save the data whilst you're not on the internet, and at a later time connect to the internet and send the data you've saved. Even if the website you're using does not have an upload function, you can select and copy data and paste it to where you would normally key in the data on the internet. So, for example, if you're creating an email, right, you can go into a word processing program or even the email program itself, create the email letter, write it up when you're not connected to the internet, and then save it. So later on, when you are connected to the internet, connect to the internet and then use it. That way, if you do it that way, you're not using the data when you're on the internet, and you're not using the time if you're on the internet. Okay. All right. So a little bit of a summary of what this is all about. With help of friends, neighbors, a library, or whatever, you can actually use the internet without any cost at all. For only $20 to $30, you can buy a second-hand mobile phone and use free Wi-Fi services to connect to the internet. For less than $100, you can buy a new mobile phone and possibly use free Wi-Fi hotspots. For $10, you can buy 6 gigabytes of mobile data. I've looked this up, and use it within 28 days. By saving information, internet information, directly to the devices, you can use it when you are not on the internet. So that's the least expensive way of using the internet. All right, if you have any questions about this, right, drop me an email. My email address will be linked on the bottom of this YouTube video. Okay, if you want to know any more information, as I said, email me, ring me if I give you my telephone number, find out some or look up other ways. I'll put a link, as I said, to this website here at the bottom of this YouTube video, so that if you want to contact me, otherwise you can do that. Please share this video around with other people as being the internet least expensive way of connecting to the internet. That's basically it. All right. So see you later. Bye.